Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of A Bigger Bite. Once again, I am your host / moderator, Matt Thomas, and this is the podcast where we take a deeper dive into some of the biggest films of the year. On today's panel, I got Bitesize founder Nick, Adriano, and this bum Amarú. So, without further ado, how are you gentlemen doing today?
I feel like you did on the first episodes.
Hey, those were the middle episodes. Those were the middle episodes.
True. I'm here. I'm here trying to get through, ready to talk about this film.
Adriano, how are you feeling?
Doing pretty solid. Ready to talk about my least favorite of the nominees.
Oh, so we're talking about the Brutalist? I kid. Nick, go ahead.
That's at least, not most.
Yeah, let's talk about this movie. It was a movie, and it happened. Let's talk about it.
Well, from my perspective, this film actually cracked my top 10 of the year. Based strictly, and I will say this, on performances, and those are a major part on why I dug the movie as much as I did. And that is none other than a complete unknown, the Bob Dylan concert pick, because I still refuse to call this a biopic. Listen, I totally understand the hate that this movie gets. I was talking to my buddy Jeff Alterman about this the other day because he finally watched it. And he's like, it's a movie. I've already forgotten like 90% of it. I'm like, listen, I get it. It's just the performance that stuck out to me. And that's why I was excited to see Timmy get not only the SAG win, but the Oscar nomination. And Monica Barbaro with the Oscar nom and Edward Norton. Like, there's the noms are well deserved in regards to the acting of the film. But yeah, I understand and see the issues people have with this film. So I'm going to start off with Bitesize founder Nick, because he's the first person I talked to about this film. Nick, give us your thoughts on A Complete Unknown.
I really like the music in this film. Is there a story? Like, there's kind of a story, but it's really just the music in this film. And as an extended music video, yeah, it's great. And I think it has some of my favorite performances of the year in those music videos. Yeah. That's about it. It's wow. It's at best the third best musical this year. Depending on how you view Amelia Perez, it could be the fourth best musical this year.
Would you call this a musical or just a music thing?
It's not a musical.
Yeah, I wouldn't call this a musical. I call this a music thing. I get what you're saying.
Behind it, but I still wouldn't call it a musical because they are just recreated performances. It's not just like the songs taking them.
They're not bursting out in song and dance.
Yes.
They are, but it also feels wrong to call it a music biopic because this is
like the concert. That's why I called it the concert. It's still
this is like a music
biopic. It's not womb to tomb, but it's still a music biopic.
To me,
it's not.
To me,
it's
this is like
a story about a musician, and to me, that's a musical biopic.
True.
To me, this is like if the Live Aid performance at the end of Bohemian Rhapsody was the entire film. That's kind of how this feels. There's like a little bit of story, but like it's not very well fleshed out. And I found myself in because they didn't do a good job giving me any kind of a story to get invested in, or even a story that has like a beginning, middle, and end, and like is fleshed out. I was just waiting for the next performance every time that there was extended dialogue.
Adriano, your thoughts?
So I'm just going to put this warning out there right now. I'm going to be talking a lot. Well, okay. I think I'm going to be bringing up this movie a lot, and that is Todd Haynes' Bob Dylan movie, I'm Not There, which is incredible. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. It's a very interesting movie where Bob Dylan is played by many different, like one of them played by Kate Blanchett, a version of Bob Dylan played by Christian Bale, like Heath Ledger. Like it's a very, very fascinating movie. So just putting that out there now. This is one of those movies, I said it's my least favorite of the Best Picture nominees this year. I don't hate this movie. I think it's rather inoffensive. You know, it's not like last year when least favorite movie was Maestro. I think the movie's horrendous. Year before, Elvis. I think the movie's horrendous. This is not that. No, I'm not in those levels any means. I do think it's one of those situations where, other than the performances, I do think the performances are pretty fantastic across the board. One who's not getting enough attention is Boyd Holbrook, who played Johnny Cash. I thought he was great. I feel like if it wasn't being showered with awards, I just would be like, all right, let's never think about this movie. Outside of his performances, I'd be like, let's never think about this movie again. But, you know, there's a line in the movie where Chalamet goes, you can be beautiful, you can be ugly, but you can't be plain. But this movie's plain as hell. Like, I get, and again, you're gonna want to hover Bob Dylan in mystery. That's the nature of Bob Dylan. Totally get that, but when you're approaching in such a plain way, that has its setbacks, and it happened. But yeah, again, Chalamet, Norton, Barbaro, Fanning, they're all great. They're all terrific performances, but I need a little more. I thought Butler was terrific in Elvis, and I still hate that movie.
I'm with you, Adriano. I feel like Sing Sing should be in this spot. Everything that A Complete Unknown is getting is what Sing Sing should be getting. I would say minus minus director. Because
that too.
I would have been happy if Greg Cuidar or whatever, that's his name, right? If he got best director. Cuidar, yeah. If he got best director, but the direction wasn't what stood out to me in Sing Sing. But anyway, the script, the acting, the supporting acting, that is what I think Sing Sing should have gotten, while Complete Unknown was left with just Timmy and maybe Edward Norton. More than maybe Edward Norton. I actually really, really enjoyed Edward Norton.
I'm okay with Barbaro.
We'll talk about that. I actually also shout out to Scoot McNairy not playing a invalid shell of a man in a movie. I was very happy for him to get one this year where that doesn't put him in such a low light, because he was really good in this as well. I'm gonna continue your sentiments. A month ago, I only wanted one movie to not win. Any other movie to win Best Picture, I would have been happy because of the last month. It's now that and the movie I like, Emilia Perez. I don't think it deserves Best Picture anymore either.
Rewatch it, and your opinion will keep changing on how much you like it.
My opinion does not change very much on very many movies.
I just rewatched it.
I'm probably still gonna enjoy it enough.
I don't think that's gonna be the case, bro.
Hey, I will come back and let y'all know what happens. But Complete Unknown has been the bottom of my list ever since I seen it. I also don't hate it. What I have been not liking is this whole conversation around, well, it's called A Complete Unknown, and you're done not knowing about him. Then don't make a movie. Make a documentary, which I would not have watched because I am not a fan of Bob Dylan like that. Though maybe if I stumbled across it, I would have been like, it's cool to kind of see people talk about how Bob did not want to be a folk singer anymore. But I would have loved to actually see why he didn't want to be a folk singer, or there was actually story in there. Nick said there's no story. I saw the story, but every time they wanted to get into it, they just decided, let's just talk about it in the next concert. And I'm like, Timmy, you're amazing in this. Get nominated, but where's the movie? Where's the movie?
No, but see, I push back on that because when I say there's no story, it's like if you found a book on the street and throughout a couple of chapters were just kind of ripped away, and you're reading it, and then, the next few chapters have been pulled out of the book, and you kind of jump to here and you jump to there. So it's a book, but it's not a complete story. There's dialogue, there's I guess a climax, but there's no complete story where you understand. It's not even made entirely clear in the final performance at the festival who you're supposed to be rooting for in that sense. It almost comes across like you're rooting for Bob because folk music is the villain in this scenario.
Oh, I got a lot to push back on.
I'm
Because-
actually agreeing with Nick here on
Mhm.
both,
Bob is-
both parts, but yeah.
Bob is performing at a folk festival and not doing folk music, and we're supposed to root for Bob Dylan. It's not that Bob Dylan's at a Bob Dylan concert. It's not that Bob Dylan's at, Woodstock or something where he has the chance to do. He's specifically at a concert made for folk music and choosing not to do folk music. It gave me the exact same feeling that Piece by Piece did when it ended, where I thought, I like Pharrell less than I did going into this movie.
What are you talking about?
I didn't go
Okay,
there.
and-
I didn't go there.
We gotta stop this man right now.
No, go ahead, Nick. Go ahead, Nick.
And
Don't finish that off.
that's
I'm
how
just
I felt
confused.
about Bob Dylan. Like, I liked Bob Dylan less after seeing this movie. And I'm not a Bob Dylan fan, but like it had the same effect on me where it's like, yeah, where Pharrell just kind of came across to me in Piece by Piece, like kind of self-indulgent, kind of arrogant in a way. Okay, Bob just kind of comes across as a dick who doesn't care about people.
But that's
Even the
always been
people
Bob.
he's
No,
That has
that's
always
he's
been
done
Bob.
this.
That has always been Bob. So stop
That's-
that right there.
so
That is
this
who
movie-
he is.
This movie
that-
isn't made. This movie isn't made for only people who know Bob Dylan.
That's
That's
but
not something you
That's
expect.
the thing. It's not. You don't have to be someone who only knows Bob Dylan. They're giving you the most authentic version of Bob Dylan you can get. He's just a dick who doesn't care.
Yeah,
First
that's
off,
Bob Dylan.
Like, and secondly, that whole scene, you forget you're leaving the lead up out of that scene out. Bob did not want to perform at that show. He did not, and he made it clear he didn't want to perform. They essentially bullied him into it. And at that point, he's like, fine, you want me to perform? I'm performing the shit I want to perform because I'm done. I am not a dancing monkey. I'm not this one-trick pony. And just because you don't believe that this is what folk music is doesn't mean I don't believe that this is what folk music is. He evolved folk. And yes, did he eventually leave it for rock and roll? Yeah, he did. No one's denying that. But he evolved what folk music is, and that's what that scene is about. It is about just because you think this isn't folk, I still do. So he
Matt?
performs at this concert. What, Rue?
I would have loved to see that in the movie. I would have been interested
I
in
did
that
see that in the
in
movie.
I did not, and that's my issue. That's
Just
why I
be-
say there's a
because
story.
he is not in the scene doesn't mean it's not there. It's brought up
look
at the
for it.
meetings. I rewatched the movie just yesterday. It is brought up in the meetings. Like, there are a ton of scenes without Bob there. That is why they are sending Edward Norton's I forget the character he's playing. That's why they're sending him to meet
Pete
with
Seeger.
Bob. Thank you. That's why they're sending Pete Seeger to meet with Bob and figure out, okay, we got you to agree to perform, but are you going to do the stuff we want you to do, or are you going to do your new stuff?
So my question becomes, because you said rewatch it, and I just want to hit, does Bob Dylan voice these things, or do we get that tangentially through Pete and the conversations that they have?
We get that through the meetings of planning the festival.
So again, that is where I push back on Nick, where there is a story here that I saw. I saw
and that's what I was doing. I was just pushing back on.
I saw the conflict. I saw that, and I saw the conflict between the love triangle. However, your main character is Bob Dylan, and I do not hear through Bob, which if that's Bob, that's Bob. But I do not hear enough tangentially to know what Bob is thinking and why he thinks that way. I know about everybody else. But I also only know about it through the music. I don't get enough of it. So the pages teared out is perfect. That's exactly what I'm saying. I see the story there, and I see the want to storytell tangentially outside of Bob because he won't really let it known. But they don't do enough for me to say, I know Bob Dylan's an asshole, but he's a likable asshole.
But
Or
at the same time,
I know why Bob Dylan wants this.
Bob Dylan
If he normally never does this, don't make a movie. It is not worth a movie. Give me a documentary that gives me Pete Seeger explaining this, or go see I'm Not There, which does it differently. That is my biggest issue, is that this movie is fine. I actually enjoyed watching it, but I don't understand why we needed this to be a movie about a guy who doesn't want to be told about. Go make a documentary instead.
And to be fair, what you guys are ignoring right now is it is based off of a book. It is based off of a book. It is not just an original screenplay.
Documentary. This is a
There is,
perfect
okay, to be fair,
documentary.
there is a very fantastic documentary called Don't Look Back by D.A. Penbacher. Very fantastic. I highly recommend it. But, you know, I kind of see there's no story aspect, but not in the way, you know, a lot of this movie felt like a greatest hits album.
I admit that.
It kind of felt
I
like
don't argue
Bob going like,
against
"Hey,
that.
check out this new tune I got," and then you know, someone going like, you don't do that," and then some cool guy going like, "Wait, you should do that instead," like, or you know, Johnny Cash is going, "Yes, do that." You know, my issue where, you know, look again, you know, I'm not like a Bob Dylan fan, but I also know he's one of those guys. I'm like, yeah, I know who he is. I don't care. Don't have anything against him. But like this movie, whole thing is, it insists. Like, oh, Bob Dylan's that's such an important figure. He's such a radical and stuff like that. The movie doesn't really. It felt like when I was leaving the movie, I'm like, did this movie know why he was such a radical? Why he was so like influential to music history? I feel like the movie didn't know that. It just kind of went, you know, it just kind of felt like, oh, here's his music. Let's speak for itself. I'm like, you're gonna have to go a little further. Like when he does the Going Electric concert, there's a lot of context missing. I felt like there was that one scene where Ed Norton's wife goes like, "Hey, stop!" and I'm like, "What did this come from?" You know what I mean?
And that's totally fair. But again, like I said, I know I sit here and know and accept people's issues with the film. I just don't completely agree with them. I will say, going back to next chapter's missing, I will say they do a really messy job of making you realize when certain things are taking place, because you start off in 1961 and you finish in 1969, and that jump, like there are scenes before we get that like little black and then a major jump that are like, oh, so we've already jumped like 3 or 4 years and didn't even know it. I can agree to that in certain instances, but not just completely.
See, I think the issue is, I think Rue kind of nailed it. If you're looking for story, to me, the story that's properly told is the love triangle. That's what felt like I knew what was going on. I was invested. For all of the music side of Bob's story, you're left wondering, like, yeah, is he just a dick? You don't really get the feeling like the man is holding him down. You don't really know who to side with at certain points. And Adriano did bring up I'm Not There, and I've seen I'm Not There. And look, he has tendencies of being a dick, but that's not all he is. I think Timothée Chalamet was great for what they wanted him to be in this performance. One of my favorite performances of the year. But it was almost kind of a one-dimensional version of Bob Dylan they were looking for, where I think you get to see a little bit less than he's a prick in I'm Not There when they show the different people playing him and the different variations, where I could root for him more in that film than I felt like I could here.
You know what I just realized? I think I would have enjoyed as a better movie, even if they advertise it as a Bob Dylan type story. Make that movie a Pete Seeger movie about how he deals with it. Because everything that Edward Norton did and everything he was going through, that's when I was interested in this movie the most. Is when we were looking at his eyes. At least for me. And like focusing on him, I think would have been a more interesting look at this point in folk music, going through his eyes and him trying to deal with Bob and whatever else he's dealing with. That would have been more interesting to me.
But Rue, you want to know why they want to do that?
¿Por qué?
It wouldn't make any money. It crossed $100 million at the box office strictly off of being a Bob Dylan movie with Timothée Chalamet. It was just
shine.
Recently, Adriano.
It gets the shine because it's a Dylan movie.
Yeah, in like the last.
Oh yeah.
It gets a shine because it's a Dylan movie, but I am kind of with Rue, not so much in the Pete Seeger sense, but yeah, like give me a Joan Baez movie. Like to me, the idea of Dylan being the supporting character that keeps coming in and like messing up her life, like that's a cool story. Like Elle Fanning did nothing for me in this film.
Agreed.
I know I'm in the minority there. To me, the weakest performance by far in here. Like, yeah, I'll take someone like Boyd Holbrook over her easily, who I thought was like a low key highlight. But
So I was actually gonna. Oh, I want to bring this up too. And again, I understand that a part of it is drowning Dylan in mystery because that's who Bob Dylan is. Like that's the point of Bob Dylan in a way. A lot of his relationships to other people are really like hard to pin down. His relationship to Barbara didn't feel real to me. I couldn't really pinpoint what she
There's no
was to
real
him.
relationship. He used her for sex. That's
That
all
is
it
also
was.
true, but it was also his relationship to Elle Fanning, which was like, I think it was that one was supposed to feel real, but it just I couldn't really.
They didn't have great chemistry. I can agree with that.
I couldn't really pin it down. His relationship to Norton was a little confusing to me. I feel like we could have got a little more of that.
But again, I think that has to do with the Dylan of it all because he's
I understand, but then again,
an abrasive figure that he doesn't have.
You're not.
I
do
even
agree.
with the people that he has decent relationships with.
I do agree. Like that's Dylan, yes. However, in that case, you can't approach it from a walk hard perspective. You can't, if you're gonna do that, you're gonna have to take some liberties, and that's not. I don't disrespect Mangold, but that's not who he is. He does Ford vs Ferrari, like rousing crowd pleasers. I don't know if he's equipped to dissect a figure like Bob Dylan. Like the fact that he got his director nomination when he lost all his juice is a little upsetting to me. But that's just not who Mangold is, and that's fine.
It's surprising because I keep forgetting Mangold directed this. Like every day, I forget it's Mangold because I hear Mangold and I'm like, oh wait, what? No, I love his movies. Like I love his movies. I don't love Dial of Destiny, but I don't hate Dial of Destiny. I enjoyed his direction.
It's the third best Indiana Jones movie.
What out of 5 happened in the film? So it's like, yeah, like what it's surprising that a movie that is this
flat.
Again, plain. Perfect word. It's plain. It's not bad. It's not great. It's there. It's plain. It's entertaining, especially if you're a Dylan fan. But yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I'm not gonna.
I was about to say, sure there was a hit. While we all have our own collective issues, it sure was a hit with the collective audience because it's got over a 95% on Rotten Tomatoes via the audience score. And when you factor in, it's a small biopic that had a $50 million budget. When the film came out, people were afraid, it only opened at 11 million. It may not make its budget back, and now it's doubled its budget because it's at 110 worldwide gross. Like,
that doesn't surprise me though. I mean, I think you can look at the history. Timothée is a box office draw. He's proven it.
About 60% of this was domestic, which is why I find it interesting. Because only 35 was worldwide.
But then the other part is just like you said to me. Dylan is a recognizable name, even if you don't know his personal story, even if you don't know his music, you know who Bob Dylan is. It's just one of those names.
And I'll go with this. Like the reason I'm a movie buff is my dad, and my dad has not been going out, but ever since COVID, he's like, I'm only going to movies I really want to see. He went to go see Dylan, and my dad is not a Dylan fan, and he went to go see it, and then he came out and was like, what was that? But like Dylan's the draw for sure. The draw.
I also don't want to sit here and pretend that all of Complete Unknown is bad. I don't want to. I think the concert sequences I actually do admire. The frame is solely on the performers, whether it's Chalamet or Barbaro. It's them. I think the sound work, the fact that it was nominated, is very worthy. In fact, it might be my second place outside of Dune of the nominees. Like what I would prefer, to be honest. And yeah, obviously, I guess we can pivot to the performances now. Like
that is where I was about to go with the shade round.
Well, I do want to say one more thing before we pivot because Brew brought up Dial of Destiny. I love that film. I think it's great. I heard you say, Matt, you were a big fan of it too. But
third best Indiana Jones film.
To me, the thing that's really where I think James Mangold's a very good director, the thing where I compare it to is this man directed Walk the Line and then gave us this. And I've seen that he can do it. I've seen he can do a music biopic in a certain way that's fleshed out, that's also filled with great lead performances. But this one just wasn't it. And I don't think it's an inability to do this type of movie because he did one of the better viewed movies of this ilk in the last however many years.
25.
But this one just didn't hit for me at least.
Well, for me, Pharrell shade aside, because that was wild.
That was wild.
I am in
sucks.
agreement.
Oh no, Adriano's gone.
I had a blast in the theater watching Piece by Piece, by the way.
I had a blast
Own
laughing
concert
at
in my
it.
head. But anyway.
I had Pharrell
yeah,
and a marching band at my screening, and I didn't have a
Me,
blast.
yeah, I
with
was
it.
at the same screening.
Let's just move on.
Bro, Canadians are different. It's okay. Canadians
They
are.
Anyway, I'm in agreement with that. It's not, and I'm also in agreement with Adriano. It's not all shit. It is a very competently made movie, amazingly looking concert scenes, and well put together. Just it was again. I like your word plain. For me, it was plain with a lot of great performance. I don't think there's a bad performance in this film at all. Yeah.
No, Ed Norton, he's like on a different dial this time around. He has got a teddy bear thing. He's not, you're not gonna see Ed Norton in like the Brett Ratner movie Red Dragon. You're not seeing, his Birdman performance. It's a very almost. I think someone said it afterwards. He's like the like at our screening. He's like the folk version of Mr. Rogers in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's a perfect description.
Yeah, and I'm not saying I wouldn't nominate him personally, but I'm not upset he was. He does deserve. He deserves it. He did a good job here. Barbaro, she was very magnetic to like watch. Something about her, just like her singing voice is stunning. She just had such an energy around her that just worked.
Listen. Should I take it now or should I bring this up later?
Go ahead.
Yeah, go Rue.
So, as I said, not a bad performance in this whole bunch. You said worst performance. Worst doesn't apply to anybody. Everybody's good. But if I have to put somebody down on my list, it's Barbara. I did not know why she was there for when she was there. And I'm going to apply that. I'm going to apply that to the fact that I thought this was a music concert. And every time she came up, every time she came up, it was just for music. And that's probably why I didn't really get drawn to her. Everybody else.
Well, that seems like a writing thing.
Yeah, but I was drawn to them way more than Barbaro. So when you're like, oh, she's magnetic, she's this. I watched the Conclave episode, Nick, that I was not on, and you were talking about how Rossellini was in the background, so the scene didn't hit for you when she hit the scene, and everything you're talking about Barbaro is what I felt with Rossellini. I saw Rossellini in Conclave. I saw her doing the face acting. I saw her doing things, and I was like, it's going to pay off with a scene. Once that pays off, my God, is she going to deliver a scene? And Isabella did. Monica did not deliver anything for me. There's the one time where they argue in that stage, but again, it's in that concert piece, and I'm like, okay, you're doing this. I did not really see her. I was waiting for the big revelation, and I was just like, she was cool, but I would not be nominating her for anything. I would nominate Elle Fanning before I would nominate Monica because
I thought she was great.
Elle Fanning was the one I was like, she is acting her ass off. This is my favorite performance. So much. She's my favorite performance.
So flat.
She seemed full.
I prefer to watch her in Super 8, and that was over a decade ago.
When y'all first presented this to me, I was like, did we watched the same performances, right? Because I am the not exact opposite. Because again, I thought Barbaro was good, but I just thought Elle Fanning was better.
All right, I'm gonna stop you right there because this is slander. Part of the reason Barbaro is getting recognized the way she does a lot with a little. They write Joan very thinly, and they write Elle Fanning very thinly. But one captures my attention, and that's her. She's the performing that music herself, and other things of that nature. There's the moments where you can see her taking notice of Bob Dylan's talent, even though she wasn't really giving him the time of day at first. Moments like that are what made this performance great. Just because she wasn't speaking or didn't have that Rossellini moment for you, Rue, those quiet moments where it's just her and her face acting, those were what did it for me.
She didn't need to say a word. You just brought it up, Matt. The moment when she's watching him perform for the first time, she does more interesting work in that scene where she doesn't say a word than anything else Elle Fanning does in this entire film for me.
Bingo.
And
Go ahead.
And the thing I think about it, this is where I will give, I don't know if it's intentional, maybe I'm just giving the benefit of the doubt, but one thing I will say is, yeah, you said she does a lot with a little. I think you don't get much of Joan's story because Bob didn't give a shit.
Exactly.
And when you're telling Bob's story, their side stories, what they have going on, it didn't matter to him, so it doesn't matter to this movie. And I actually think that was a creative choice that was made that I'll give some credit to.
And I agree with you 110%. I will co-sign everything you just said.
I don't disagree with the majority of what you're saying. I thought she did well, and I'm actually going to mount it up to one. The writing and the fact that this was a concert movie made me not really have her stick out, except I think back on that movie and I see Elle Fanning's face at the end of that concert when she leaves him finally, and that sticks out more than any time Monica Barbaro's in the background for me. And that is why I remember Elle and her performance much more than I do. I'm not gonna say much more. I'm just gonna say I recognize her performance more than I did Monica's, and I thought that coming out of it, I was gonna be like, both of them are gonna get some pretty good shine. I just remember Elle more, and then y'all coming back saying Elle was not good at all, and Monica's top notch. I'm just like, okay, sure.
That moment you just mentioned, I was like, and that is what we call textbook overacting.
Hey, I enjoyed it.
I didn't mind Elle Fanning. I thought she did. She did her job, and I believed her as a human. I think most of my issues just come down to character wasn't well written.
I'll give you that. Both.
But again,
Joan Baez,
what
and
did
Elle
Nick just say?
Character.
What did Nick just say?
In my list of the people I remember in that movie, the two of them are at the bottom of great performances. Again, really good performances. But Elle Fanning's character and Monica Barbaro are at the bottom of everybody else.
Goes Timothée, Monica, and then Norton for me, and then Boyd Holbrook. So I don't agree.
I'm in the same boat.
Anything you just said, man.
And if I'm looking at the nominees based on what they did, and I'm looking at the top three, to me, I have Monica as my number one of what was nominated, and I probably have Zoe Saldana as my number three. Because even though I thought it was the weakest part of the film, I think Felicity is probably my second best performance. Even though I liked the Brutalist a lot more before she showed up.
I will say for me, I'd probably go Monica's my one, Ariana's my two, Felicity is my 4, Isabella is my 3, and Zoe, because it's category fraud, is my 5.
I do need to say at this point to anyone watching, I have yet to see Wicked. So that is why I have not mentioned, this is not Ariana Grande slander. I have not seen the film. Of the 4 performances I've seen, Isabella's at the bottom.
And the Oscars are in just a few days, and you have a free copy of it. Make make sense.
No, I'll see it before the big night. Don't worry.
Weirdly enough, if I was the supporting actress, I'd do 1 Felicity, but then 2 Monica, honestly.
We're supposed to be shocked Mr. Brutalist is going to put Felicity at number 1.
No, we'll take the Monica at 2. That's okay.
Yeah, take the Monica at 2 and move on. No.
Monica is...
I'm sorry, I just had to say it since the episode's out.
Category fraud is category fraud, but she's in the category. Monica is easily my number 5 out of all of them, with Zoe, then Ariana, then Felicity, then Isabella. Monica I would not have nominated. Weirdly
enough, I put Zoe at 5, but by default, I actually think this is a great lineup.
I think this is a great lineup.
Only one of them overlaps. Only one of them
overlaps
overlaps from first lineup, and that's Felicity. But I think this is a great set of actresses, and Monica, is a good addition to it.
Yeah, I'm not mad at the nomination. I am not mad at her performance. Just came out of it very surprised at how more so how much people will actually, I'll take it back, how much you two were shitting on Elle to prop Monica and not saying, both of them were great.
I didn't think she was good. Otherwise, I would prop her up a bit.
Yeah.
So Rue, I gotta ask, who would you replace Monica with?
See, that's the thing. I don't know because the supporting actress, I cannot remember.
I can give you names.
I don't know if it was. Yeah, give me names because I can't remember.
Nacho Leon for his 3 daughters.
I would give that. Oh yes, I would 100% give her that
Joan
over.
Chen for Dee Dee, if you saw that.
Yes, I would give her that over. I would nominate her over.
I'll give you one. Danielle Deadweiler, the piano lesson.
Yes, all 3 of them. That Danielle Deadweiler was the one that I was like, because I think this year was a little hard for supporting actress. And I cannot. It was always the 5th one. I had my 4. My 4 were the 4 everybody were thinking of, and it was the 5th one that was hard. And I keep forgetting about Danielle. Danielle is who I always ended up with. And I saw his 3 daughters late, and Natasha came up right after that. And see, I already forgot the 3rd one you mentioned. Who was the 3rd one you mentioned?
Joan Chen for Dee Dee, but I don't know if you saw that one.
I did see it, and I have a little bit of a. She is amazing. I would nominate her. I just had the Isaac Wong's character frustrated the fuck out of me, so I don't like it as much as a lot of people do. No, I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it a lot. But anyway, yes, all 3 of them I would have nominated over Monica, though all 9 of those performances are very, very good. None that I am mad about.
Now, see, the difference is I can name, and I'm not even being comical, but I'm not going to do it. 30 performances I would name above Elle Fanning, maybe. Mm-hmm. Maybe 40, maybe 50 this year. Like
I think about it.
I'll come up with a list and send it to you guys later. Like I feel like I could confidently do that.
And I also think that's kind of an well, no,
I don't think he's exaggerating.
I don't think it's an exaggeration because again, I just think the 2 of them were all good. We're really good. I just did not. She did not pop to me. But again, I'm leading that over everything to this movie, to the writing not being up to par, to the story not being up to par. And I love Isabella, so you don't have to give me much for me to say your performance is amazing. You can have limited screen time, you can have limited talking, but you have to have the movie behind it. And I think this is I can see the greatness, but the movie drags it down for me, and it is what it is. So I have to judge it based off what's given to me. And again, Timothée, then Edward, then Scoot, then the 2, then Elle, and then Monica. Those were the 5 who were really in the movie. And that is the order that I kind of like to see them and then remember them by. So
the fact that you don't have Boyd anywhere in that top 5.
Boyd is probably actually Boyd is right. Sorry, thank you. Boyd is right.
Honestly,
I don't remember this movie. I don't remember this movie.
Fair enough.
I remember a lot of it. And
Boyd is number 3.
Personally, I preferred Boyd's. Don't get me wrong. I loved Edward Norton, but I preferred Boyd's performance.
I think I might too.
You know what's funny? The reason I have Ed up there is my wife saw like a little clip, and she was like, "Is he not playing a bad guy? Finally, like he's not. He's playing an actual, genuine human being here." And I was like, "Yeah, he is, and he does a damn good job of it."
That's fair. Well, no, I think we have covered everything we need to about A Complete Unknown here, gentlemen. Thank you for joining this lovely panel, even though I vehemently disagree with a lot of you. Actually, all of you, but in different parts. So, real quick, you can find all of these amazing gentlemen over on Bitesize Breakdown, where their reviews and articles pop up all the time, weekly, daily, doesn't matter. You'll find something to read from them there. For myself, you can find me over at my YouTube channel, Watt Real Entertainment, and right here on A Bigger Bite. And yeah, signing off. I'm Matt. That's Rue. That's Nick. And that's Adriano. And we will see you next time for A Bigger Bite.
Peace.